Yo, Kale here, and today's video is pretty much why the free-to-play model is dated. I'm probably gonna get some heat, but we got the pre-order prices, and they are looking, I like them. $30 for the base, 40 for the pro, and 50 for the elite. I think these are solid numbers, and honestly, I don't think Rematch would benefit from a free-to-play model, at least yet, and that's the topic of today's video. So we're getting right into boom. Okay, so first off, the free-to-play model is quite frankly dated, especially on something like Rematch, because this is going to be a highly competitive game. Jumping off the market right into free-to-play I think is the bad call, because one, they're already starting at a deficit. They haven't had any profit if they go the free-to-play route, so now the priority has to be making money. These guys have livelihoods. They want to have a stable job. They want to know they're still are going to be able to work in the next game or next year, whatever it is. So with that comes a different focal point as far as what they actually want to do. So with them sticking to the price point, now they can focus on what really matters, and that's going to be the gameplay. They can make their bulk of money on the initial pre-orders and the launch date to see how many players are getting, which will also be able to have them dictate how many servers they need, how much money they have to work with, how new content is going to work, and they can mainly focus on feedback and making the game as sharp and as polished and as fun as possible. When you have a free-to-play model, that's not really the case, because you have to figure out how to also make money while simultaneously juggling one, a plethora of people's feedbacks, two, gameplay mechanics and updates, and then three, future content. So I know the biggest argument is, the big games are the ones that kind of lead the pack. Big games like, Apex Legends, you have Fortnite, you have Warzone. People even throw in Rocket League in there sometimes, and PUBG, which I don't count because games started as premium games. And why that is disregarded is because they are free to play now. But the free to play model is outdated, because games like Fortnite, Apex, to be honest, they got in on the ground floor. And if you can get something in on the ground floor, you can kind of set the standards that isn't really achievable for many people. I've been gaming for a long time, and some of my favorite games were free to play. We have Spellbreak, we have Roller Champions, we have Knockout City, all these games, really fun games. However, they were not able to recoup their money by being free to play, and ultimately ends to shorten their lifespan. So that is a big factor. We see all the dead games that happen as because they try to go free to play. They had to really up their monetization. People weren't vibing with it, or they had a small enough fan base to where they weren't it wasn't lucrative enough, and then ultimately they go under. The next thing is the competitive skill base. Why I think this is probably the focal point, especially for a game like Rematch, is competitiveness is at its core. Thus, the feedback you receive needs to be precise with the demographic you're aiming at. So for Rematch, again, these are competitors, these are egoists, these are people who want to be the top and want a high skill ceiling for a game. If you make things free to play, just because you make it very accessible, again, that doesn't necessarily equate to dollars, but also that equates to a large demographic of people that might give your feedback, and that's not the type of audience you're targeting. If you open the gates up to a large demographic, and they want, some aim assist, or they want auto passes or things in that nature, and you feel like that is the plethora of people, you may start trying to pivot your original vision because you are getting the wrong opinion based on the audience you weren't naturally trying to pursue. So that happens a lot in games. I think having a premium, now you have the people who are already playing the game from the playtest and from the betas, and the people who kind of know their own game style. So you get very nice and precise criticism based on the games, based on people who want high skill ceilings, in this case in Rematch. So that's going to be a huge point. You see a lot of games, RIP, one of my favorite games, Spellbreak. I think one of the mistakes they made is, one, they did go free to play. Granted, their cosmetics and their monetization was pretty good, but the feedback they were getting were from people who are not trying to have a competitive game or trying to have a large skill ceiling. So they began to diminish the game, destroying their existing player base, and then thus ending up being a game for nobody, really. And that's what happens a lot. You get people who come in on the free to play model because it's free, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to invest in the game long term, whether that's with gameplay, whether that's with money. So you get this feedback from people who are going to come in playing the game for 5 hours, for 6 hours, which is going to be the large population of people with free to play games, versus the people who would buy your game and they're going to put hundreds of hours in because they love the style of game. Whose feedback is going to be more valuable, and whose feedback is going to help in the overall vision of Rematch. So that's kind of my spiel on the matter. Free to play is not the way for Rematch. Honestly, this game it would die pretty quickly with that model, because it's a niche type of game. So you need your niche players to support that game. And honestly, a lot of the community is willing to play the game or pay for the game because it's so much fun. You get the free-to-play people, they're gonna drop in because it's a free-to-play game and they want a new, they have TikTok brains, so they want a new game to play for the next week. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna buy something, and also their feedback is gonna be skewed because they want something that's very easy to pick up and to master, which Rematch isn't really the game. Another great example is Rocket League. Rocket League started as a premium, which was the best case for Rocket League because that game, if you've played it, it's one of the hardest games you can actually play because the trajectory and the skill ceiling is so high. Now imagine if that game went free to play off the jump and people were complaining about, oh, it's hard to control the car, or it's hard to fly, or hard to dribble, all these other things, and the developers took that feedback and dropped the skill ceiling because they needed to keep people in the game as well as sell copies or sell monetization or sell cosmetics. That's going to be a bad model because then you get a game that's too easy, and things that are too easy, people get bored of them very fast. So again, that's my spiel. I kind of went into a little bit longer, but yeah, premium for Rematch, I'm all for it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Obviously this is a discussion, these are just my opinions. I love shouting them out, but I also want to hear yours. So if you enjoy the content or if you have any thoughts of yourself, be sure to come by and give me a holler. Let me know what you think, and are you willing to spend that dollar? That's just some bars for you guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We will be streaming Rematch tomorrow as well as putting out a bunch of gameplays, so stick around if you are interested in that type of content. Until next time, everybody, peace.